Another unsettling episode of The Changeling with some new characters and a new place to explore. Let's talk about it now. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm here to talk to you about The Changeling Season 1, Episode 4, The Wise Ones, which came to Apple TV Plus on September 15, 2023. I am a little behind on The Changeling. I didn't catch it when it premiered. Now I'm playing catch up, and oh my gosh, it is such a good show. I don't know how I missed it because I love everything about it. I love the kind of the aesthetic. I love the kind of mix of fantasy and horror and modern life. It is just such a great experience overall. It is definitely a particular experience, but if it's something you're interested in, you're going to love it, and you're going to love this episode too. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the episode, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the recap portion. If you don't want to know what happens in this episode, I would turn it off when I get there. Before that, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler free. I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. In this episode, Apollo is trying to deal with the grief of everything that happened to his family and also his own injuries. He's trying to get back on his feet with the help of some friends, but also dealing with negative social media reactions. He has an interesting transaction that takes him to a place that he never imagined he would go to. So my hot take is I definitely think you should watch this episode. It's an unsettling chapter in this saga that takes Apollo to new places, meeting new and dangerous characters. So things I liked about this episode. The first, I love the writing. This is a really well-written show. It could be because it's based on a book, so it kind of has that template, but I just love the way that the characters kind of interact, the way that they speak. There's just some really good kind of crumbs that are dropped here and there. There's some interesting conversations. I'm just kind of engaged the entire episode. And I really love how it kind of slowly drip feeds you information through the conversations, through the observations that the characters have. It just really feels like a wonderful, it just is really is a pleasure to, it's really just kind of a pleasure to listen to everyone. And I'm always kind of curious about what I'm going to learn next. Second thing I love, look, I love the performances. There are some very quirky characters in this episode. There are some new ones that we kind of get introduced to, and also some characters that we learn a little bit more about. And they all give fantastic performances. Some of them have to go kind of up and down through their characters as things happen and as things become more dramatic or more dangerous. And they all do a fantastic job. This is a really well acted TV series in general. It has kind of a great cast, and the performances in this episode are just stellar. And the last thing I love, look, I kind of love this about the whole show. I love the balance. I love the balance between like fantasy and sinister aspects, between like, a dream and horror. It is just such a great kind of mix of different themes that is just wonderful to see. I love kind of everything about this whole setting. I love the imagery that you get. I just love the themes. I love the music. The music can kind of mix between fantasy and sinister. It is just a wonderful overall blend of different themes, and it just is, I'm here for it. I love it. I love this show. The only thing I didn't love, things I didn't love about this episode, there is one character that you can kind of tell is something is off with them, and it is just strange because people keep kind of listening to him and following him, and from the beginning you're like, there is something off with this person, but it wouldn't be much of a story if they didn't, so I will just kind of leave it at that. So that being said, The Changeling Season 1, Episode 4 premiered on Apple TV Plus on September 15, 2023. If you haven't gotten on The Changeling train, get on it now. There's only 4 episodes in. There are 8 episodes total, so about halfway through. You can catch up to it pretty quickly and then kind of be up to date for these next 4 episodes. So I'm going to go into a recap now. So if you don't know what happens in this episode, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So like I said, Apollo is kind of picking up his life, dealing with the grief. And part of that, he is selling that book. I think it's a original first edition of Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger that is autographed to his good friend, Truman Capote. It is a one-of-a-kind book, is a one-of-a-kind find. He is selling that to, I guess, move on. He originally was going to sell that to get him, Emma, and Henry a home, but that didn't work out, so he's just selling it to kind of move on. Someone is offering him $70,000, a lot of money, but I think it's probably worth more, but he just wants to offload it. So he is going to sell this book for $70,000. He meets up with this person named William, and William is a quirky character from the start. He seems a little off. He seems a little desperate. He seems to kind of like go between light and dark. He kind of seems to know more about Apollo's life and what happened than he lets on initially. He always seems to kind of have something in his back mind. So he's just a strange character altogether. So William is weird, but look, it's $70,000. I'm sure that people would put up with a lot for $70,000. So they put up with him, even though he's strange, even though he drives him to this like boat that he does a transaction on, even though he doesn't own a boat, he rented the boat for the transaction. They do the transaction, they make it through, and then he starts talking about how this is a gift for his wife. It's his like last chance to get her back. This is everything he has. This is his only chance. And he starts crying. And Patrice is like, I'm done. Like, we're out of here. And he leaves. Apollo is, he's a little bit more caring, a little more understanding. He kind of tries to support William, but he eventually also leaves. He says like, I think this will work. And they go. Now a little bit later, Apollo gets a text on his phone from an unknown number that just says Emma Valentine is alive. And Apollo is like, what is going on? Like, that is crazy. It's an unknown number. The person gives him like a map location. Apollo runs down there. And wouldn't you know it, guess who is there? It is William. As you'd imagine, Apollo gets very upset with William, but William kind of timidly says, no. He like wanted to help out Apollo. He went online looking for answers. And if you get a lot of people online, they can scour a lot of information and do what the FBI, what the police are doing. A pretty dangerous mentality, but in this case, he's saying that he was able to find Emma. They were able to find like some surveillance footage of Emma. It looks like Emma. It looks kind of like a strange, like wizard roby version of Emma, but it does look like Emma. He says that she is on an island in the East River, and then he calls them. He says the wise ones, he found them. And I guess she is with this colony of people called the Wise Ones, and it's in an island. So in order to get there, you need a boat. Well, so wouldn't you know, William seems to have access to a boat. They take off, they head out there, they go at night for some reason. I would think I would rather go during the day, but they end up going at night. It seems shady right from the start, but Apollo keeps going because he wants to find Emma. They're out in the water. It's very foggy. You can't really see much. And then the island just kind of like appears out of the fog. And Apollo sees it. He points it, and William seems impressed. It seems like he's been searching for this island, but he hasn't seen it. But Apollo was able to see it kind of instantly, which is an interesting hint. It makes it seem like this is a little bit more of a mystical island, a little bit more of like a magical island than your traditional weird island in the East River of New York would be. Now, during this trip, Apollo also does some pretty weird things. Like one, he takes his wedding ring off that he's been wearing since the whole kind of incident happened, and he chucks it into the river. Now, he does this right after he remembers that Emma said that if she ever wanted to end it, she would just jump off of the George Washington Bridge. So you're wondering, maybe she did that after she killed Brian. Maybe she jumped off the George Washington Bridge. It didn't work, and she ended up in this island. You don't know. They don't really give that much information, but Apollo chucks the ring into the river and then ties that strap that he stupidly cut off of her wrist in the first episode around his finger like a wedding ring. I mean, there's only so much he can do. He shouldn't have cut that off in the first place. Like, don't mess with weird like ancient voodoo. Just let it be. Like, let her wear it until it falls off. I don't know why he felt the need to cut it off, but now it comes full circle. Now he is wearing that strap. Maybe he thinks when it falls off, maybe he'll get what he wants. I don't know, but we'll see what happens there. So when they get to the island, it seems pretty abandoned. William and Apollo kind of go into the island, and as they get further in, they get ambushed by some kind of like robed figures with sticks with like bats. They beat them up pretty intensely, especially Apollo. They beat him pretty intensely. But eventually they realize that he is Emma's husband, and they decide to take him to this person named Cal. Cal, you remember, was mentioned earlier during the support group, the grief group. One of the grieving, I guess, mothers in there told the group that she was doing like what Cal mentioned, that Cal said like it wasn't a baby, things like that. It was a weird kind of random statement. But when he's going up to see Cal, you get those flashbacks and you see her leaving the room where Cal is. So you get that connection. She also is part of this island, part of the Wise Ones. They finally go and meet Cal. While Cal is talking to Apollo, their conversation gives Apollo some realization. He finally kind of like agrees with her that says that it's not a baby, it's an illusion. And if it's an illusion, then something created it. So it seems like maybe either Cal is like infecting his mind, or he is starting to kind of come to the realization that Emma did. It's a very mysterious scene. We don't really know what it fully means, because once this is happening, William gets caught. He hid earlier when Apollo was getting beaten up, but he finally gets caught. They realize that William is Greta's husband. It seems like these Wise Ones know a lot of people in this story. They know Greta. And when Cal realizes this, apparently William wasn't a very good husband. So Cal beats him like a lot. She like hits him in the back of the head, bloodies him up. You kind of think he's dead, but he's not. He's still barely alive. But they drag him into a cell, and they drag Apollo into a cell. So they start talking, and William opens up a little more. He says he kind of found Apollo through the story of Emma giving birth in the subway, and he thought that was a beautiful story. He wanted to like find happiness in them where he didn't have it in his own life. In his own life, he had 2 daughters. One of them died, and he said his wife lost her mind and grabbed their daughter and left. And then since then, he hasn't seen her. He hasn't seen his daughter. And he's been trying desperately to make contact with Greta again. And he just wants to tell her that it's not her fault, that he doesn't blame her, I guess, and that, he really wants to be a family again. He begs Apollo to tell Greta this when he sees her. I guess William doesn't think that he's going to see Greta. Maybe he thinks that they'll kill him. Maybe he thinks that they will like separate them, but he wants Apollo to tell Greta this when Greta comes. Now, Apollo says, what if I say no? And William says, Apollo, if you don't help me, everyone on this island is going to die. Very cryptic. You don't really know why William would say that, but that is what he says. And then we see the water, because this is an island, there is water, and it scrolls up, and we see Apollo's mom standing at a dock. And that's all we get. That's all we see. But it seems like maybe, like, there have been a lot of parallels in this whole story between Apollo's mom and Apollo's life. Some of the dates that they went on, like Apollo's mom and his dad and Apollo and Emma, seem to be similar. Some of their experiences seem to be similar. So it seems like maybe Apollo's mom was also part of the wise ones. Maybe Apollo's mom was part of this whole trajectory. I don't know. We'll have to find out. I bet we'll find out in the next episode. But that is The Changeling, season 1, episode 4, The Wise Ones. It came to Apple TV Plus on September 15th, 2023. Check it out. Check out this whole series. It's a really good series. And thanks so much for watching. If you liked this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.